Energeticcity.ca. This is the Community Roundup sponsored by Brad's Furniture and Appliances. Today I'm here with Brian Lamond with the North Peace Search and Rescue, talking a little bit about the services that they offer and just let the public know what they exactly do. So to start off with that, Brian, if you could just explain to the public who might not know the services that North Peace SAR offers, what do you guys provide?
So North Peace Search and Rescue is required or is tasked with supporting ground and inland water searching and rescuing in the Fort St. John area. So we look after the Fort St. John RCMP detachment and the Hudson Hope RCMP detachment sort of boundaries and areas. So we provide that searching and ultimately rescuing for people that get lost or waylaid somewhere in the backcountry. We typically don't operate a lot in municipal boundaries, but we're predominantly out in the rural areas and in the outback.
How many because it's all volunteer run, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There's no paid positions within our organization at all. So we run with about 40 members. Okay. And it varies up and down because of being volunteers, and Fort St. John is a very transient town, and we get lots of people come and are skiing, and then they upward mobility, and we train them, and then they move away. So it's not we keep about 40 because it's volunteers, so we're hoping to, every call we get, to get between 12 and 20 that will show up and be able to put the time in to provide the services that are requested by our requesting agencies. And so we have a number of requesting agencies: Fort St. John RCMP, Hudson Hope RCMP, BC Ambulance Service, municipal governments can activate us as well. We were fairly busy this summer with evacuation orders and alerts for the Peace River Regional District when we had all the wildfires in and around town. So this year's been a busy year for us. We're at about 31 activations for tasks so far. Normally we average between 20 and 25. This year we're sitting, so far this year, 31. So of those 31, 8 were for supporting the community, the rural communities, and delivering the notices for orders and evacuations for the wildfires.
Wow, and so for training for each volunteer, I guess trying to account it in for, let's say, hours, like how much training does one volunteer go through in order to be, again, properly ready for when a situation happens?
Well, we do an onboarding, what we call GSAR, Ground Search and Rescue, for all new members. So it's about 80 to 90 hours that they have to put in to get qualified to be able to do what we do to start off with. And then once they're qualified in GSAR, it takes a couple of weeks or very condensed training. We get into specialty training. So the member can then branch out into any numerous specialty training, i.e. rope rescue, ice rescue, avalanche rescue, swift water rescue, flat water rescue, tracking, advanced medical treatment, those sorts of things. So they all have to take GSAR first, and then once they get qualified for GSAR, we put them on the call-out list, and then they can branch out into one of the specialty teams.
And then so the volunteers, they can choose to do all of them or a couple of them, really whatever they want.
Whatever is up to them, whatever time they've got available. So we don't demand them to do anything. They're more than welcome to come in, join the team, do GSAR, and if that's all they want to do, that's fine with us as well.
Awesome. So the 40 members you have right now and the 31 calls you've done this year, has it been a good cycle of people because you have 40, or how has that worked? Like,
we're really happy with the response we've
just
had
wondering
so far
if you guys
this
have
year,
been run thin with all the wildfires and stuff like that.
It ran us ragged for May and June, so I'm not going to lie, it was a struggle to get people out, but when we put out the call, especially to support the rural areas around Fort St. John, our members really stepped up to the plate for that one. We had one task, we had 28 or 29 of our members out for the slaughter task. And then ultimately we can draw mutual aid from the other areas around the Peace River region. We've got 4 other teams in the Northeast region. So South Peace out of Dawson, Tumbler Ridge, Chetwynd, and Northern Rockies SAR out of Fort Nelson. But we've also got all the teams in the south that we can call on. So we put out the call for the slaughtered fire for we got teams from our members from Prince George, Nechako Valley out of Vanderhoof. So yeah, we could put the call out, and it's supported. There's 3,400 volunteers in the province of British Columbia, and 77 other teams. So we get overwhelmed, we can call on them to support us, and similar, if they get overwhelmed, they can request us. 3 weeks ago, we were in Vanderhoof supporting a search that Nechako Valley had. We had 7 of our members go down and help out for the weekend. So we mutual aid back and forth. So yeah, we will supply the service, and even though we get sort of burnt, we can draw on other resources to come up and help us. It's a good organization that way, with 78 teams in the province and 3,400 volunteers.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's something I didn't know about the search and rescue teams. Like, it makes sense to me, but I didn't know you guys kind of had the network to be able to communicate across the province, which is absolutely awesome in case, you never know what type of emergency there's going to be. And it's similar in the case of like with the wildfires with BC Wildfire Service in general. They can then activate, firefighters from, across Canada to the world to search and rescue teams, which is awesome. Now that we're, in winter, unfortunately, it was
pretty warm today.
This whole week has been fairly warm, thankfully. How do you guys prepare for the winter? What goes into it, and kind of what calls may you see in the winter, or activations?
Well, winter for us is typically a busy time. We have an avalanche team available. We call it our winter response team. So lots of active snowmobilers in this area. We help look after some of the other areas as well. There's only 2 teams north of the Pine Pass with winter response capability, which is us and Tumbler Ridge Star. So if any of the other teams have issues in the winter, especially with avalanche issues, then we respond and support them. So avalanche, out of bounds skiers in Powder King and those sorts of areas we've been involved with. Late winter, late fall, and early winter hunting. So we'll get involved with that. So for training, we put all our people through basic avalanche skills training, level 1, and then they can move on to a little bit better or higher level of training for avalanche. We've got a number of people that have gone beyond that. We equip ourselves up. So summertime, we run like our mobile equipment. We have a couple of quads and a side-by-side that we run. Wintertime, we switch over as soon as there's enough snow to run it. We got a couple of snowmobiles. Our side-by-side's got tracks. So we've got that ability to move people on and around snow. And then we pack up. So in fact, last night we had training and we were talking about search packs. We typically go out with a pack on our back that we tell our people to be prepared to be outside for 24 hours. But we go from summer where you're trying to stay cool to winter where you're trying to stay warm. So we talk about layering for clothing and making sure that they've got fire starter and extra batteries for their headlamps and flashlights, making sure that they've got that gear to be able to sustain themselves outside in anywhere from 0 to minus 25 or 40, depending upon when we get called out. Because we typically don't get called out on a nice Saturday afternoon in the sunshine and the warm temperatures. Usually it's after 11 o'clock at night and it's cold and snowing and raining or whatever. It's all seasons all year long.
Wow. And so to keep up with equipment and things like that, obviously the main part of funding for search and rescue, well, not obviously, I'm assuming so, is, getting funding from local governments and donations. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. We are a self-funded group. We do get support from our local municipality. The city of Fort St. John has been really good to us over the years. We train and store our equipment in one of their yards down with the Public Works building. We're now partnering with them to move into a new emergency services building down by the fire training grounds, which is great for us. All our trucks and trailers and equipment right now are stored outside, so it's a little nippy for getting them going. They're both diesel pickups that we run. And so hopefully by this time next year we'll be into a nice warm facility. But beyond that, the Peace River Regional District is supportive of the 4 teams in the Peace River region and make funding available to help us support our operational budgeting. And we get some funding from government, both on a funding agreement that comes through. They donate $6 million to BC SARA, which is our umbrella organization. Some of it to cover the overhead costs for the group that we have that supports it, and then we distribute to the teams based on what their needs are. On top of that, we also do community support. We we'll help the city with the Santa Claus Parade coming up. We helped out with the Canada Day Parade. We've been doing that for a number of years. We do the Mother's Day run. We did security at the Rib Fest to raise money. And we also rely on our local businesses and clubs to support us through donations. We've been very lucky lately with recognition and delivery or donation of funds to us. through some of the local businesses and service clubs.
It's definitely seemed like there has been a lot of donations towards the search and rescue, especially after the wildfires. I mean, even with the Firefighters Association, like their group, it seems like a lot of organizations are getting that funding, especially after the wildfires and with the emergency situation.
It was a busy year.
Yeah.
For everybody, whether it be
Yeah.
Wildfire BC or the local fire department or search and rescue or emergency support services. There's a lot of people behind the scenes to ensure the safety and the well-being of the people that are affected as a result.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts,
Absolutely, there
for
is.
sure. And so with that being said, the kind of give and take relationship with search and rescue and the city and the community as a whole, you know, you guys are getting that support and then you're giving back as well, which is absolutely awesome, because I have been in communities where search and rescue teams they're doing great, but they might not be getting as much support. So, you know, for you guys, I'm assuming it must be great to have that good relationship, right?
Absolutely, because we need to keep the lights on, keep the trucks fueled, keep our training up, keep our equipment up. We do get some government funding when we respond, but it doesn't anywhere near cover our operating costs and our training costs and support. So in a normal year, we'll do between 6,000, 8,000 hours of dedication for the volunteers. This year alone in the fire season, I think collectively the 4 teams in the Peace River region put in about 2,200 to 2,300 hours of delivering orders and alerts. And so that's a lot of commitment for a lot of volunteers to get out and do that. And thankfully our volunteers stepped up this year. It's really good to see that when we put the call out, that the teams responded and the members say, yeah, I'm going to be there. You know, with the Stoddard Creek fire, at one point in time, we were set up behind the Charlie Lake Fire Hall, had our command center set up, and at one point we had 28 teams, and it was made up of search and rescue volunteers, RCMP members, conservation officers. We got support from the Charlie Lake Fire Department to use facilities, and we had people dropping off food, and yeah, it was a struggle, but we got through it, and with community support, it worked out really well.
That's so awesome to hear, you know, coming out of, you know, what could have been a worse situation. You know, it's nice to hear the positive. Well, Brian, it was so nice talking to you. My last question here for you is there anything the community can do other than what's been done already? Do you need more volunteers, funding? You know, what is possible? How can the public help if they want to?
Well, a couple of things. Yes, and yes. We're always looking for volunteers. They can go to our website, northpcr.ca, and go down and apply for membership. We're always looking for ways that we can be supported through the community. And the last thing that we do a lot of is prevention. So we are one of those organizations that wants to see ourselves sit at home 365 days a year. So we do a lot of prevention. So education is key to us for getting people trained. Number one, how to be prepared to be out there, and then ultimately how to activate us when they do get out there and get into trouble. A couple of good websites to go to, adventuresmart.ca. You know, it gets in there, it talks about the 3 T's, it talks about take some training for what specifically you're going to be doing out there. Take the essentials with you. There's a list of things that you should have, about 10 things that you should have with you every time you're in the backcountry. And then trip planning. So it makes our job a lot easier if we know where you're going. You know, saying, well, I'm going to go for a hike north of Fort St. John. That's a lot of area north of Fort St. John. So if you fill out a trip plan, leave it with your friends and family. And that way, if you're overdue, we'll know where to look rather than trying to figure out, okay, well, where do we start? The other one that's just coming online, BC SAR has just launched a new adventure hub. And so they can find that on the BC SAR website at bcsara.com. Education drop-down adventure hub is starting to list. It's just in its infancy, but it's starting to list those activities and those organizations that support in northeastern BC. So hiking clubs and ATV clubs and snowmobile clubs. It also lists all of the search and rescue teams that are supportive in the northeast region. So yeah, prevention is a big thing for us, and we do presentations for school groups and for service clubs. We're out there doing Hug a Tree, Adventure Smart, Paddle Smart, Snow Sense, trying to get the word out there of how to be prepared. We're just launching a new program within our team as well. We're going to try and get community service notices out. So we're working on right now on what you should have in your pack. What type of clothing should you have for the winter? We want to get people prepared for if we got another member that's developing what does ice look like, and how do you need to prepare if you're going to be out on Charlie Lake ice fishing or going out snowmobiling on active streams. So we're going to try and get those public service announcements out periodically, and we'll make sure that your organization's included in that, so you can use them for future support to make sure people have got the awareness that they need to be safe in the backcountry.
Yeah, 100%. I think that would be a great idea, and we would be more than willing to post those up as well. And like you said, it's just about getting that word out, which is why you're here and why, we'll put those notices out as well. So it's awesome what you guys are doing. Again, thank you so much for stopping by, Brian, and letting everyone know what North Peace Search and Rescue does if they don't already. I am Trey Lopushinsky. This is the Community Roundup, sponsored by Brad's Furniture and Appliances. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.